Back to another episode of the Self-Made Podcast. I'm your host, Chloe Trca, and in today's episode, we're going to be talking about everything that 2023 taught me. It has been quite a year. It's been one of my most transformative years, for sure. And this isn't going to be an episode on like a reflection of my goals or my new goals. I'm going to do those in the later weeks, but I really first wanted just to talk about, because there's so much that's happened this year, I couldn't put it all in one episode like I did last year. But I just wanted to sit down and talk about all the lessons that I've learned, because I feel like I learn something new every single day, if not multiple things a day. And I feel like, especially at my age, I'm 22, I feel like in your early 20s, you really learn a lot. And I feel like I've become a lot more mature. I've become a lot more self-aware. I've gotten into business a bit more. I've met new people. I've networked more this year. I've moved across the country this year. Like, a lot of things have changed in my life. Like, every aspect of my life has honestly changed. And I feel like I've learned such valuable lessons in all of these different avenues and chapters of my life. And 2023 has just definitely been a year of like lessons, and good and bad. Like, I've learned them in like nice, nice ways, but also some of them have been like through hardship and stuff. But I think that's kind of the beauty of life, because there always is kind of like the rainbow after the rain, like there's always something good to be learned from like a hard situation. And I don't want this to sound like I've had like a hard 2023 year. Honestly, 2023 was beautiful, and it was a really, really good year for me. But it's just, there's good and bad, and there's a lot of things I wrote down. I think there's over 20 lessons and things that 2023 taught me, so I'm gonna get right on into it. So this isn't super, super long, because we all know I can chat. We all know I can kind of go on tangents about certain things, but I want to also be able to go in depth on these and actually like give you guys advice and teach you through my experience. So yeah, let's hop right on into the episode. Number one is, what you put in is what you'll get out. And this, I know this is simple and you've probably heard this before, but I really realized how true this statement was this year in regards to the gym, in regards to my relationships, and the regards of like the gym, did I say that? Relationships, the gym, work, all of that kind of stuff. And it's truly more, it's not just about like the effort that you put in, but like the intention you put in, and like the love that you put into something, and the dedication and the purpose. Like, it goes so much more in depth. Like, there's so much more level to it, rather than just like, oh, work hard at something. But like, you really have to have like the purpose, the passion, like the why reasoning behind things. Like, even a relationship, like you have to have like the intention and the purpose to like serve that your partner and stuff, and get like what you want out of the relationship. And I think oftentimes we get into things in our life before we really understand why we're getting into them, and like our actual purpose. Like, it's easy to just start posting TikToks and hope to go viral and hope to become a content creator, but like, you have to kind of initially have a reason why, and like have a purpose, and have like not an end goal. I think goals are important, but like, it's hard to have an end goal with like content creation, but have a reason why, and like have an idea of what value you want to bring to your viewers that you hope to reach and stuff. And I think, again, that applies in every avenue of the gym. You have to walk into the gym, and you can't just like go in and go to the gym because you know you should work out, because that's what people say you should do to be healthy and to age like slower and all of that kind of stuff. Like, there's obviously benefits, but you have to go in there with like intention and purpose. Like, my runs and stuff, I used to just kind of run to run and get mileage, but now it's like, okay, this is an easy run. This is a run where I'm going to push the tempo, I'm going to push the pace, I'm going to challenge myself. This run is a long run. Like, this is supposed to be mentally hard, physically hard, like push your boundaries, and train for the half marathon. Like, my end goal is the half marathon, so I have something in purpose to like get me up and go run, rather than just running because I feel like I need to. And I think a lot of times in life we just like lack that reason why. And I think if you're struggling in any area of your life, with like relationships or with fitness and health or something, like, create your reason why. And I feel like this year I just really realized how important that was, because I think I was just kind of going through the motions, and I was getting burnt out, and I was feeling like I wasn't progressing in certain areas of my life, and I was feeling like stuck, or in relationships I felt like people didn't really understand me, or I just felt like I'd rather be alone. And it was weird, but it taught me that like I have to have that why. And like in friendships and like relationships and stuff too, like I gained so much from my friends, and whether that's insight or someone to listen to me or just the social interaction, like I have to know why I want to either be friends with you, or I need like friendship or friend time, or just we need to like sit and actually think about things a little bit more before we just like jump into them. And that's easier said than done, but really like reflect on literally every aspect in your life, like even school. And when you're studying, like I think oftentimes I would study and I'd be like, oh, I need to study, but like I didn't go in with the intention of being like, okay, I'm gonna learn the first chapter of the text, or I need to focus on this section of the chapter, and like have more of an actual like reason. And I think that's how you get far in life too, is like having goals, having visions, and like seeing what you want. Like that's a way of manifesting and creating the life that you want, is you have to have an idea of what you want. And honestly, like before this, while I was writing these episode notes, I was also writing my reflection of this year, and like going through my like 2023 goals, and also writing my like 2024 goals. And I'm kind of at a weird point because I feel like I'm a little bit struggling with like my goals for 2024, because it's like unclear of what I want. And so I'm giving myself a few more weeks to kind of think about that and actually process, because it's a lot. You can't just like randomly come up with like your goals. Like there's things you kind of have to like ponder on and think about and reflect on. So I'm excited for that episode, because I definitely think it's going to be a really intentional year. But anyway, number 2, that was number 1. Oh my gosh, I feel like we talked for a while on that one, but that one is like one of my main ones I think this year, and that really was like the theme of the year, is just how what you put in is what you'll get out. So make sure you're putting in a lot into what you're trying to do. Like give it your all. Number 2 is, if nothing changes, nothing changes. I talked about this in one of my other episodes, but like since learning this, like it has changed the trajectory of my life, honestly. Like, is that the word, trajectory? Trajectory? I don't even know, but you know what I'm saying. Like it has shifted everything I do, because I feel like I kind of I'm in not a standstill, because I am progressing and I'm hard on myself. Like actually reflecting on this last year, I realized how much I did accomplish, and I don't give myself enough credit for that. But also like I feel like there's a lot of things that I'm like saying I want to work on, and then nothing really like actually changes. But it's because I'm not actually making the changes. Like I eat pretty healthy, I work out pretty regularly, but like if I'm not reaching my goals, like clearly something's not right. So I need to kind of like reel it back, reflect, and make changes. And I think it's really helpful to look at other people and see what they do, and be like, well, see, they've gotten here, but they don't do A, B, C, and D, they do E, F, G, you know, like they do these things. Maybe I should try those things and eliminate these things from my life. And not everything that's going to work for somebody else is going to work for you, but like use people as inspiration, and learn from their mistakes. I mean, essentially that's like my job, I feel like, is to like teach you guys through my life experience. And so that's just something like I still look up to other people myself, you know, and I'm learning from other people as well. So I've just really remind myself, like if I'm tempted to kind of go into like an old habit or revert back to an old habit, I'm like, Chloe, nothing's gonna change if you don't make these changes. And it just kind of like puts me back in that headspace and that mindset, and it's really, really helped. So that's a big one too. And let me get cozy. I love this fact that my podcast is literally filmed on my couch, and I'm always in sweats every time I film, because I just like being cozy and chill. Like I'm just chatting. I feel like I'm having like, every time I'm like recording a podcast, I feel like I'm like literally chatting with my friend. Like we're having like a little sleepover, me and Taylor just sitting on the couch like talking. It's really funny. Anyway, number 11. This is my next thing that I learned in 2023, and that is how your faith will literally change your life. It changed mine. Every single time I felt off, I felt empty, I felt anxious, I've noticed like I'm leaning towards old habits. I feel like I'm like my old self again. It's when I haven't been in church, and I haven't been reading the Bible, and I haven't been praying, I haven't been listening to worship music, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I was traveling in Iowa. Like I just got back a little over a week ago, and I was home for like 2 weeks, and both Sundays I couldn't go to church, and I wanted to so bad, but like one time we had a snowstorm, and then the other time I had a Thanksgiving, and so I couldn't make it. But so I'd been like over 2 weeks since I'd been to church, and I had felt really like anxious and nervous and stressed out, and I was kind of like leaning back into like my old habits again. I'm like, what is going on? I go to church, and I literally feel like just a whole wave of like refreshment went over me. I don't know how to explain it, refreshment, but like I don't know if that's the right term, but I felt like a new person. I felt like my new self again. Like I felt like I had clarity. I felt like I had peace. I was so much less anxious about the future and the things I was worrying about. Like it was that reminder, and I just feel like it genuinely is crazy how much 1 hour of my weekend can like change the trajectory of my entire week. Like, I don't know what I would do without like church and my faith in God and my religion, because this wasn't always a big part of my life. Like, I've said this, like, just within the last year, like, I started going pretty much the beginning of 2023. Like, I think it was in October of 2022 I started kind of going, and I feel like I really like got into it this year. Like, I go to like a youth group, not every week, but like some, like I would say once or twice a month. I go twice a week to church, and there's like a women's group at the church I go to, and I'm gonna start going to that, and like I read the Bible, and I have conversations with you guys about my faith. And one of my best friends, Kayla Elledge, she's a huge inspiration in this aspect of my life, but it's just so much more prevalent in my life. And like, me and my brother talk about our faith all the time too, and it's like, it's honestly like the front of everything I do. Like, it's always like kind of what leads me to make the decisions that I do, and it's made me a better person, like wholeheartedly. Like, my relationships are better, my relationship with myself is better, my relationship with work and my perspective on work, and like every aspect of my life. I think that's why I've had so much growth and realizations this year, and like epiphanies and like whoa aha moments, is because of my faith, because I pray, and I feel like it's God answering my prayers. I don't know, like, people in church, and I'm still new to it, so I'm like, when they say like God spoke to them, I'm like, is he like literally telling you? I'm like, how is this happening? But I think it's just part of like their intuition. Like, I have these moments where I'll be speaking, and I'm like a lot of times on here, because a lot, you guys know, I have like one line notes, and then I just chat, and whatever comes out of my mouth comes out of my mouth. But I literally think it's like God working through me and makes me like say things and have these realizations where I'm like, whoa. And it's like a lesson to me, and it's like, I feel like it's not even me talking sometimes. I feel like it's him talking through me. Does that make sense? Like, right now, I feel like that's one of those moments. So it's really crazy, but it's so cool just because I feel like it's really made the biggest impact in my life. And it's really inspired a lot of changes that I've made. And again, for the better. I feel like I'm the most like present, at peace I've ever been. And I tend to be an anxious, kind of stressed out person, and I feel like I don't really have a lot of that anymore. And don't get me wrong, I still have moments like that, but like few and far between compared to before. And it's so reassuring to know, like, having faith in him, and like knowing what's meant for you won't pass you by, and like he has your life played out, and everything happens for a reason, and it will work out. And it's like, trust in him and like live life led through him, and like you'll go exactly where you need to go. And that just takes so much like anxiety out of my life. Like, everything that we normally worry about as humans, like, it's just kind of gone when you have that perspective. So going to church, reading the Bible, listening to worship music, like all of those things are things I hadn't done until this year, and it's like crazy because I can't imagine my life without it now. I just don't know. Like, I don't know how I did it before. It blows my mind. Genuinely blows my mind. Anyway, number 12 is something I started doing this year that's been really, really beneficial, is I feed my mind, body, and soul in the mornings. The best way I do this, and I think I've probably again talked about this on here, but I love going to like the little gym at like our complex's gym, and walking on the treadmill, listening to a podcast, and scrolling Pinterest. I did it this morning. I love it. I feel like it starts my day off so good, because I'm like feeding my body by moving it. I'm physically like getting exercise, endorphins. I'm feeding my mind by listening to a podcast and learning something, and I'm feeding my soul by scrolling Pinterest and like getting inspiration for recipes, for fashion, for like, there'll be like little, my Pinterest is pretty much food, fashion, and like inspirational quotes and stuff. And I do it in the morning at like sunrise, and like the sunrise like feeds my soul, like the sunshine and just like the early morning. It's so calming and relaxing for me, and I love it. Or sometimes I'll just walk and I'll just think, and that also feeds my mind and soul. And I just like pray, and I just like have a moment to myself, and it's so beneficial. Like, please try it. And if you don't have a treadmill like at your house, like, you could even just go to the gym, or you could go outside and go on a walk. Do something to try to move your body, and you can like kind of have it stack. You don't have to do them all at the same time, or you could do them all at the same time. I don't know, whatever works for you, but that's just how I do it, and I love it so much. Number 13. Okay, this is like this is just like a straight up one of, I don't know. It's, things aren't just gonna fall into your lap, okay? Like, I feel like a lot of times I was just like waiting around, like, God, just present this into my life. Like, just give me this brand deal, give me this whatever, give me these views. Like, give me a boyfriend. You know, I just like think I want these things, they're just gonna fall into my lap and it's just gonna happen. And it does happen maybe like that for some people, but it's not everything. It's maybe one random thing. But typically I've realized, not typically, everything. It's like you hear about people and like successful people, and it's like they are working for it, they are putting themselves out there, they are doing things to create that reality for themselves. Like I say a lot of times, like on social media, everyone assumes people just like blow up overnight. And again, like I get a viral video might do that, but typically if you just go viral once, you're not gonna like create a career out of it. I feel like everyone goes viral probably on one video or two videos, but it's like the people who have been like at it and are consistent with it are the ones who can make a career out of it. And like I put so many years into social media before I even like saw any growth in my accounts really at all. Like I was so consistent with it. But like an example of this, I was listening to Ed Millett podcast today, and he was saying how out of the 52 episodes he does a year, about 50 of them are from people reaching out to him wanting to get onto his podcast. And I'm like, whoa, because I'm not a person to like ask for things. I hate asking for things. I don't want to feel like a burden. I don't want to feel like I like to just do things on my own. And like brands and stuff, I still don't do this, but like I don't reach out to companies to work with me. But like maybe I should start outsourcing and networking. Like I did hire a manager to like help me with some of that stuff, but it's like I almost hired her so I didn't have to do it because I feel weird doing that. But it's like people are out there asking to get on Ed Millett's podcast. I'm like, I just assumed he handpicked the people he wanted. But it's like, no, that's how you make things happen and you get to where you want to go, is you have to be willing to ask and try and put yourself out there and make things happen. Like it's not just gonna fall into your lap. And it's just something I'm still realizing, I guess. But yeah, you gotta work for what you want, and you gotta like do things to get you there. You're not just gonna magically get there. You're not just magically gonna get fit. You're not just magically gonna find a boyfriend. Like a man isn't really, maybe for a few people, but like a guy isn't just gonna show up at your doorstep, you know? Like you gotta like get out there and like somehow put yourself in an environment to meet somebody, you know? So yeah, that one's just kind of like, I don't know, it's blunt, and I almost feel like it's hard to hear, but like it's the truth. And then number 14, this one, I feel like this is a lesson that I learned. It's just like there's always more to the story, you know? Like with people, with relationships, like you see one side, but it's like there's always more to it. Like there's always more depth than we think. Like I feel like it's super easy to make judgment calls based on people's like actions and the things that they do and say, or you hear half the story, but it's like there's always more to it, and we'll never really know the full story of anything. And I feel like that does make it hard as like a human, you know, for like relationships and things. But then again, it's like that's just kind of reality, and that's just kind of it. And I feel like it kind of learning to accept that and just being like, I feel like that's why I also too think it's important not to be like too hard on people, because it's like you only know part of the story, you only know part of their struggle. Like they probably have so much more going on in their head and in their life and in their mind. It's so easy to look at someone and think they have it all together and their life is so perfect and they know what they're doing and they have all this direction. Like I feel like oftentimes, even for me example, you guys probably look at me and be like, Chloe like knows what she wants, she knows what she's doing, she has all this right. But it's like, y'all, I'm still day by day, taking it day by day, figuring it out. Like I really don't know what the heck I'm doing half the time. I just try, you know, I just try my best. And some people are better at putting up fronts than others and like showing their emotions, showing their struggles, where some people like hide it really, really well. And not that you should hide it or you shouldn't, but I just think like there's always more to a person than we think. And I feel like everyone has struggles, and I don't know, I just like give people more grace and more kindness and like forgiveness, because there's always way more going on than we think. And it's sad, because it's like I feel like everyone has like an area in their life where they really struggle day to day. And it's like I don't know, I just think if people understood that, we'd just be so much kinder to each other, you know? But I definitely learned that this year. I feel like that was just like kind of a maturity thing, and growing up, it's just something I learned. I don't know. And then number 15, we're getting through the list now. Number 15, and this is similar to that, but it's everyone has their own struggles, everyone has their own insecurities, and we're a lot more alike in struggles than we realize. Honestly, I feel like TikTok taught me this, because people will be very vulnerable on there and they'll share like things that they're struggling with, or an insecurity that they have, or a thought that they have, and you read the comments and they're like, I've never had an original thought, or people will be like, I thought I was alone in this, you know, or they're like, I'm so glad I'm not alone. Like, I honestly don't think there is a single freaking thought that I've ever had that I feel like someone else hasn't had, you know? I feel like it's, or a feeling, or like an insecurity. It's like I would say majority of the people struggle with the same things that you kind of struggle with or say or do. Like, most of the things that are hard for you are probably hard for somebody else too, or everyone else. Like, I feel like we all just don't really talk about it as much, but it's like once you get to know people, you start to realize like, oh, we have a lot more in common than I thought. We're like, we both struggle with that too. And I feel like knowing that almost gives you a little more peace, like in the thing that you're struggling with, and like within that insecurity, because it's like, okay, and it's sad, but it's like everyone feels this way. Like, it's not just me. Like, it's not just me who's unsuccessful, or it's not just me who's thinks I have like ugly eyebrows, or I don't know, just a random thing. But like, I just think like it's so much more widespread, and you're really not alone in anything. So I think it is healthy to like open up and talk about it and share what you're struggling, because one, you can help people, but then two, you can build that community and you can help each other. Like, any time I've ever posted anything vulnerable on the internet, I've gotten multiple DMs from people being like, thank you so much for sharing this. Like, I needed to hear this. This was a reminder. I'm also struggling with this. Like, I don't feel alone. And I'm like, it makes me tear up, because it's like, this person was struggling so hard and totally thought they were alone, but like, this is something I struggled so hard with for years, but then I just have the platform and the courage to share it, and then I can help people. So it's like, I don't know, it's cool, but it's like, I wish we would maybe be more like, at least the people, like, you don't need to tell the world about your issues and your insecurities, but be more open to having conversations with like the people that you care about and respect, because they can help you through all that kind of stuff, you know? Okay, number 16. This one is kind of funny. This is just something that I've learned since like living with my brother, which is really quite the experience. I like love it. But I feel like as girls, I feel like we really, and might be like shocking or like an interesting take, a hot take, but I feel like a lot of times girls on like social media, I feel like they like really have like put a bad taste in our mouth for like men and for boys. And I think you guys would be really shocked at how similar boys are to females. Like, how, like, we think guys just don't care, and we just put this really bad like stereotype on men and like their perspective on like everything in life. And it's like, girls and guys go through a lot of the same stuff, and like within dating and stuff, it's like guys and girls pretty much do and think very similarly. There's definitely ways, definitely differences, definitely, but like a lot more similarities than we think. And I feel like we need to kind of give them grace more than we do. And that's something I've realized just like living with my brother, is like a lot of stuff that I thought I was definitely wrong in, and it's like opened my eyes to. And I think it's interesting. I feel like it definitely like it shifts my approach to men and boys and relationships, just understanding like they are also like have emotions and have feelings and have thoughts and insecurities, and all like everything a girl does is just typically like they close it off and don't talk about it and hide it more than we do, and they just do a better job at like hiding those things, so we think that they don't have them, or they're not going through it, or they're not experiencing it, but like they definitely are. And I think it's important to like remind yourself of that. And don't get me wrong, there's definitely guys out there who like do fit the shoe, you know, like people put on like social media, and like guys definitely do that kind of stuff, but then again, so do girls. Like, girls do similar things, but I feel like we almost are just like creating this like bad narrative for them, and then it's like almost unfair, and then it's in a sense like we're creating that narrative for them just to like fall into. And so I feel like in a form where like, I don't want to blame us, but like I think if we didn't do that as often, it wouldn't be accepted. And I feel like it wouldn't be like, I feel like guys are just like, well, that's what they think, that's what we'll do, you know, like boys will be boys, so they be boys. But like, just take that away and don't talk about that kind of stuff, and then maybe it'd be different. I don't know. It might be a hot take, interesting take, but anyway, moving on to 17. This year, I feel like I've been able to like step more into, or at least understand more about like the feminine side, like of myself. I feel like I didn't realize how much masculine energy I was like forcing on myself. And like masculine energy and feminine energy, from what I understand, is like, it's not like if you're like a tomboy or a girly girl, it's like the things that you do and the pressures and like the tendencies you have are more of what that is. And so it's like I felt like I had to do like all of these very like independent, hardcore things that like is more in my masculine energy rather than my feminine. I've been more in touch with my feminine. Like I'm softer, I'm kinder, I don't want to say like easier on myself, but a little more lax and like a little more sensitive and a little more emotional and a little more like open and creative and that kind of side of me. And it's been nice, and I definitely think too I'll even step more into that when I do get into a relationship, because typically when you like meet a man and they like can do that kind of stuff and take over in that aspect of your life, like being single and self-employed, like I have to take on both, because it's like it's just me and I have to do both things. But when I do meet like a man in my life, like he can help kind of like, I feel like what I saw a podcast one time and it was pretty much like girls, really like independent girls, like can step out of their masculine when they meet like the right man, and like an independent, strong, dominant man. And I think that is why like that's something that's very attractive to me in a guy, is like when they're very like alpha, when they're very like masculine, because it's like I trust in them that they can like kind of take over that part of me, if that makes sense. I can like release that, and it's really nice. So that's been something that I've like been working on this year and realized about myself. And I think it's interesting. I think that will definitely be something that carries on into this next year that I get more into. I feel like that's more of a recent thing, but definitely powerful, and definitely shifts a lot of my perspectives and my like intentions and motives and stuff. And then the next one is number 18, and this is how I've gotten more into like the art of noticing. Have you guys seen those TikToks where it's like it shows just really beautiful like little like everyday like images, but like I feel like I can find like the beauty in a lot of like very like mundane things, you know, like something that doesn't really look super pretty, I can like see and appreciate, and I love it. Like my camera roll is like full of just like random stuff, but I'm like, that's really like aesthetic, or that's really pretty, or like it's a really peaceful, calm moment, and I realize it, and I'm like, huh, and I really like, I'm grateful and I'm in gratitude in that moment, and I think it's cool. I don't know if it's because I've learned how to like slow down a bit and like appreciate that kind of stuff and the presence and like the now moment, or what, but like it's probably one of my favorite things about myself is like how I like when I have those moments, I'm so happy I have those moments. I'm like, yes, like I'm so happy, Chloe, that you noticed that, because it's so beautiful. And so yeah, I don't know, just like appreciating the little things, and it's just in the moment, like it doesn't really do a lot for me, but it's like in that moment it brings me like happiness and peace and joy, and that does a lot for me. So learning to kind of have that perspective is cool. I don't know how I learned it. I think I literally just slowed down, and I learned kind of what I found to be like beautiful, and I stop and I take a moment to like, sorry, I'm yawning. I take a moment to like appreciate that, and it's definitely done a lot for me. And then 19, I learned this year how important it is to get out of your freaking hometown. I had a podcast about this I think 2 weeks ago, but I couldn't recommend it enough. It's something that like I never honestly, like I wanted to do but never thought I would do it. Never really wanted to do it because I was scared. Like I always remember growing up in school and being like, it would be so scary to be the new kid, being in a new city, being in a new town. Like I'm like, I'm so glad that's not me, and like I won't ever have to move. But then it's like you move and it's like, why would I ever want to like stay put in one place forever? Like the amount of growth and the new opportunities, the new environments, like it's so cool. It's almost like addicting in a little bit. Like it makes you want to just keep doing it and like keep experiencing new things all the time, and traveling around and moving around and seeing different parts of the world, because there's so much to be seen. But like I've grown so much, and I just go back home and it's like I genuinely feel like when I'm back home everything's the same. Like everyone and everything, like no one really, and I don't want to say that because that's like mean and judgmental, not true, but like it feels like everyone kind of just stays the same and does the same things all day and are like kind of content. And I'm happy if they're happy, but it's like that's not the type of life I want to live, at least. And it's opened my eyes to that. And so I do think like getting away out of your hometown in a new environment forces you into like a new mindset, and it's been amazing. Like I genuinely could not recommend it enough. Like I'm telling you, try it. At least try it. And then if you know you don't like it, then that's fine. Like my best friend Taylor, she lives in Iowa, but the year before she moved to Florida. She lived in Tampa, or like around Tampa. She didn't like it. She came home. That's fine, but at least she tried and knew it. Like she learned a lot about herself doing that. And I just think everyone should like get away from the hometown for a little bit. I really do. Number 20, rest. just rest. This year I've learned how important it is to rest, recover. I don't want to go too much into detail about this because I literally just recorded an entire podcast episode on this last week. But like the Lord literally in scripture tells us to rest. Like he take a day. Like the Lord rests, we can rest, you know? And we need that time to regroup. We need that time to reset. We can't go ham 112%, 112. What am I saying? I'm getting tired. I'm clearly needing to rest. I'm like an hour into this episode of talking, but like just slow down. It's okay to rest because you recharge and you can put way more into everything else at a full battery rather than running on E all the time. Like running on E forever versus taking a little bit of a rest, like one day of rest, but then being charged up and ready to go the other 6 days. What one do you think you're gonna get more out of? Like think about it. So like do that, like rest. I need to be better about it. I am better. I am much better about it, and it has changed my life. It's brought down my stress levels. I feel like my cortisol, my inflammation's been better in my body. My anxiety's been better. I feel like my passions and my motivation and all that kind of stuff too is higher because I rest more. Lots of things benefit when you take more rest. But not saying be lazy. Just give yourself a day to reset and then go crazy ham, hardworking the rest of the week, you know? And then the last one, number 21, is just pray. Just pray more. I feel like talking to the Lord, like, literally has changed my life. And I don't know how I don't know. I don't know how. I always, like, would pray before bed, you know? And I feel like I'd oftentimes pray in moments where I needed to pray and, like, needed to talk to God. But, like, when everything else was good and everything in my life was fine, I didn't. And that shouldn't be how it is. I know that's not how it should be. Like, you should be praying. I talk to God, like, a lot of times throughout the day. Like, I feel like I'm always talking to him. But, like, that's what gets me by. That's what brings me peace and joy and calmness. And, like, I just don't know how I live my life without it. Like, how was I not running with a chicken with his head cut off all the time? How was I not a nervous wreck? How was I a functioning human being? I don't know. It blows my mind to think about because I just know how much of an impact it's made in my life now. Like, he genuinely is just, like, I feel like he's with me at all times, and that's so comforting to know. And, like, praying is just, like, having a conversation with him, and, like, you tell him your worries, you tell him your stress. It's okay to ask God for things. Like, he answers your prayers. Like, my favorite stories are hearing people's, like, testimonies and, like, hearing people's, like, God moments, or, like, on the I don't know, just, like, little moments where it's like, that was God, like, that was fully God, like, answering your prayer, or, like, saying you need a sign, and, like, him, like, presenting that sign and, like, reassuring you that it's gonna be okay. Like, that's just the coolest thing ever. But just pray. Like, if there's anything in your life that you're uncertain about, unsure, nervous, working on, stressed about, insecure about, pray about it. Just talk to God and be like, help me, lead me through this, like, lead me to the people, to the choices, open up opportunities, like, bring me, like, the peace of mind, or bring me, like, the knowledge or something. Like, my conversations are kind of, like, weird with him. I don't know how to explain, like, how I talk to God, but it's not just, like, a full conversation. It's kind of, I just put a bunch of thoughts to him almost. I don't know how to explain it, but it's just, like, give time to him and praise him on Sundays and praise him every other day of the week, you know? Like, it will change your life, and I think that's the most important one of this entire list. And I definitely advise you to, like, just listen to worship music. It calms you. Or listen to a podcast on somebody's, like a Christian's podcast, or whatever faith that you follow. Or go to church. Just try going to church. Bring your friend with you if you're nervous, or bring your mom or your dad or your sibling if you are scared to go alone. I think going to church alone is a cool experience. So I've done it a few times and I do really like it, but I also understand that it's so terrifying to, like, go to church for the first time. And go with someone. Ask one of your friends who goes regularly if you can join. They will be more than happy, I promise you, to take you. Just start praying. Open up the Bible. And people are like, how do you start reading the Bible? Just open. I open page 1, start reading. It's slow and it's hard to get into, but, like, it's funny because I'm only, like, a little bit into the Bible, and I already will be sitting in church and be like, oh yeah, I read about that, or oh, I know that name, or oh, I recognize that. And it makes church on Sunday so much better. And I'm really glad I do read the Bible, because it does make me, like, understand a lot more. But yeah, anyway, that's it. That was a long episode. Those are the 21 things that I learned in 2023. Huh. Maybe I should have done like 23 things I learned in 2023, but those are just 21 things that I learned. Anyway, I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your year. Maybe take the time to like write this down for yourself. This is really like eye-opening and therapeutic and really like beneficial to do. Write down things you learned. Write down a reflection of the year. Like look back at your goals that you set, see if you achieve those things, and then write new goals. Like really reflect on your year. It's cool. It's cool experience. I hope this helped. And yeah, I love you guys so much, and we will chat next week. Bye guys.